Good evening, friends. This is a momentous day for us. And on behalf of the WISCOMP team of the Foundation of Universal Responsibility of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, it is a great privilege and pleasure to welcome you to the Saahas Awards ceremony. This one of its kind digital confluence has enabled us to reach out to over 1,000 co-travelers from India and several other parts of the globe to share in this celebration. As we experiment with both the possibilities and some of the challenges of technology, we warmly invite you to a novel, immersive experience. Thank you so much for joining us. May the network of Sahasis transcend conventional borders and boundaries. And of course, this is a prelude to the ceremony we still hope to hold when physical distancing eases somewhat. Those we honor and celebrate today are scholars and practitioners who have demonstrated exemplary leadership in higher education spaces to render it more gender sensitive and just, and to realize the constitutional mandate of equality, and also to incorporate the spirit of the Sustainable Development Goals. The last few decades have seen a phenomenal increase of women in higher education in India. Of the 37.4 million students enrolled, 48.6% are women. But this has not always translated into substantive equality for them within the academy or even beyond. Labor force participation rates, as many of us know, labor force participation rates of women have been in steady decline. Unemployment rates have risen among women graduates, and earning differentials between women and men continue to be considerable. Women are still underrepresented in senior academic, administrative, and leadership positions in colleges and universities. Women from socially marginalized groups remain doubly or even triply disadvantaged. Yes, glass ceilings and leaky pipelines abound in a space that is meant to be progressive and transforming. And listen to this. Of the over 700 universities in India, only 16 have women vice chancellors. The structures of exclusion and discrimination, and indeed even violence, sustained by misogyny and patriarchal cultures in this domain remain largely unaddressed even today. Recent student protests on campuses, especially following the infamous Nirbhaya or Jyoti Singh incident in 2012, highlighted pervasive cultures of silence and cultures of impunity around gender-based violence and exclusion on our campuses. The Campus Equity Initiative, HAMSA, enabled us to work in different geographical and cultural contexts with higher education institutes across the length and breadth of the country and engage with a very diverse mosaic of institutes in India, a whole gamut of them: women's only institutes, denominational institutes, tribal, multidisciplinary institutes, colleges over 150 years old, new colleges, young colleges, and universities, each very distinct, each with its own unique set of potentialities and also challenges. So the spur was to evolve a shared vocabulary and craft a new lexicon, an inclusive template that inscribes gender justice into their DNA. And you will be delighted to know that in a span of a little over a year, through workshops and trainings, our attempt to build a community of practice has received a buy-in from nearly 44 institutes of higher education, universities and colleges from different regions of India. A handbook on the tools and approaches to gender audits by our partner institutes, a how-to manual which will be available to all HEIs in the country as a possible template to draw upon as they work through their own processes and practices. An important component has been the extensive safety audit of campuses that have been conducted with technology-enabled trainings for students to map the obstacles to access. And it's all thanks to an amazing app that was created by a global NGO called Safety Pin. Our unique online educators portal called Log in Gender, or in India, Log in Gender, People in Gender, provides an exciting space for the exchange of ideas. Nearly 3,000 young scholars have engaged here with comments, with articles, with reviews, with reflection pieces, poetry, letters, and even artwork. Do visit it. Please do visit it, because it is brimming with ideas and compellingly draws our attention to the issues at stake, issues that are often invisibilized in the academy. The sheer range, impact, and reach of Hamsa, as you will see in this slide, has far exceeded our expectations. It has far exceeded our expectations. As you can see, the number of students, faculty and staff, the number of states covered, the diverse core teams on campuses, and the truly innovative, eclectic modes and methodologies employed, and even the media interest, which has been quite substantial. The most exciting aspect of the Hamsa project is in the collaborations and partnerships it forged. Do take a look at the slide. And the stars are the colleges and universities from Tier 2 cities, who, in collaboration with those in the metropolises, led this initiative from the front. The breadth of talent, motivation, enthusiasm, and indeed innovation that they brought to learn from the global best practices was an eye-opener. Because they truly make despair unconvincing and hope practical. Hamsa also opened the door for a very special kind of Indo-US collaboration. As you know, there already exist several collaborations around strategic affairs, around agriculture, technology, even education. But this was specifically around building gender-just practices in the citadels of learning where knowledge is produced and that are charged with putting out ideas whose time has come. As the slide shows you, American and Indian academics, scholars and activists were engaged collaboratively at every stage of the project, from formulation to execution to evaluation, all building a unique community of practice, as I said before, and a kind of soft activism on knowledge sharing and on lessons learned from a wide array of global networks. As you can see, they dip into a wealth of best practices around the globe. Those we honor and celebrate today work in different parts of India. As I said earlier, they work tenaciously away from the media glare and yet They strive to shake us out of our comfort zones and our complacency. They exhort us to not only see through a different lens, but also to lay bare the normalization of inequality that exists every day in sexist practices of power and control, even on our campuses. But above all, what their work brings home to us is that the struggle against patriarchy is not just a woman's struggle. It involves everyone. If it requires the political empowerment and consideration of women, it also requires the involvement of men who, in questioning their own roles in perpetrating and perpetuating patriarchy, are able to realize freedom from notions of masculinity which imprison them and which prevent them from leading fulfilling lives. As I said earlier, today is a celebration. But today is also Thanksgiving for the contribution, the guidance, and the collaboration of many, many individuals. Colleges, universities, organizations, whose energies have coalesced into a beautiful crescendo, a fitting finale of both the Hamsa Campus Equity Initiative project and its predecessor, or its first phase, called Partners in Wellbeing, which involved youth countering violence against women. And both were supported so generously by the Public Affairs section of the US Embassy in New Delhi since the fall of 2014. So a big thank you to all our partner institutions, their leadership and core teams for their enthusiastic engagement with Hamsa. To all our resource persons from India and the US for their counsel, their innovative training workshops, and their engagement. Professor Christy Kelly in particular for giving us the Guru Mantra on gender audit templates. To the thousands of students, their core team reps who represented them and provided feedback on lessons learned and pointed to the amazing pathways ahead. To Nitya Kalyani Ramakrishnan, our expert evaluator, for always keeping us on our toes. And to our illustrious jury, who you see in our slide, Abha Adams, Anjali Bharadwaj, Krishna Menon, and Ravi Gulati, for so meticulously maintaining the high benchmarks for evaluation, and for investing so much time and so much care to select from such an impressive array of candidates. Deep, deep gratitude to all of you for believing in us and walking with us and inspiring us and exhorting us to do more. But none of this would have been possible without the support of David Kennedy, Minister Counselor, Public Affairs, US Embassy, New Delhi, a career diplomat whose extensive experience in serving at several US missions in Ethiopia, Afghanistan, Iran, Russia, India, and the UN is matched by his active interest and engagement with education. And why not? He received an MBA from the University of Massachusetts at Amherst, which also happens to be my alma mater, and which is known for its progressive student and faculty activism. David also studied at George Washington University and Harvard. And I'm sure, like many of us, he too applauded when Drew Gilpin Faust took over as Harvard's first woman president in 2007. WISCOMP is grateful for your support, David. And to Mandeep Kaur, the All India Principal Program Advisor at the Public Affairs Section, US Embassy, Delhi. What can I say? She has been both mentor and friend. She held our hand through this project and, of course, held the mirror up when it was most needed. Her deep commitment to gender equity and justice has been empowering at all times. Thank you, Mandeep, for your faith in our work. And a recurring resonance, or should I say a lyric, through this entire journey was Maya Angelou's famous refrain. And I quote, "My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style." So while it is important to feel the anguish of the world, it is equally important to smell the roses on the way. So cheers to all our awardees for showing us that it is indeed possible. And also that this is the beginning of an exciting journey to enlist all the campuses in India by 2025. And that is our dream, that is our goal. Congratulations also to the recipients of the Saahas Prerna Awards for their inspiring leadership, and of the Saahas Prajna Award for wisdom, discernment, and reflexive practice. And the very special Saahas Shrestha Award for the Shiro of Courage this year. But before the ceremonials, may I request David Kennedy to share his thoughts with us. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Meenakshi. I'm very honored to hear all your wise words and very eloquent remarks. I'm delighted to be here today, and we at the U.S. Mission in India, we are very honored to partner with WISCOMP, one of South Asia's leading think tanks, at this very special Saahas Awards ceremony. At the outset, I would like to applaud the vision and leadership of Meenakshi Gopinath, as we just heard her speak so eloquently, as she and her very able and professional team, Seema Kakran, Diksha Podar, and many others, who have worked tirelessly to put together this awards ceremony in the backdrop of a global health pandemic. This is no small feat, and a big thanks also to the silent support behind this project of Rajiv Malhotra. And thank you, Meenakshi, for highlighting the tremendous role of Mandeep Kaur, my colleague at the U.S. Embassy, for her dedication and true professionalism over the years in providing excellent support to you, your organization, and many others in support of gender empowerment and gender equity. Mandeep, thank you very much. I would also like to thank all the partner institutions and educators who worked with WISCOMP over the past 2 years on this project to share best practices for gender equality in higher education. The U.S. Mission to India is proud to have sponsored this project. Each capacity building and skills development workshop, each initiative, whether it be the safety audit training on campuses, the online educators portal, Login Gender, and even today's awards ceremony, strengthen efforts for gender equality. Today is special as we celebrate the extraordinary spirit of educators, administrators, youth leaders, and transgender persons as they work tirelessly and sometimes against great odds to ensure greater gender equality across higher educational institutions in India. It's not easy work. It requires great resolve and lifelong commitment to fight discrimination, sexual harassment, and prejudice, both within educational institutions, on campuses, and in society. I would like to congratulate each one of you Saahas awardees for your leadership We at the U.S. Mission are proud of your work in transforming educational campuses to enable men, women, and transgender persons to realize their fullest potential, which leads to economic growth and development. The United States has a long history of working towards greater gender equality and greater inclusivity broadly, whether in higher educational institutions and in society writ large, and this work is ongoing. Similarly, Indian educators too are working hard to fight societal and embedded inequalities in educational institutions. We are imperfect societies, but we both strive for greater, more perfect goals. Our commitment to gender equality is reflected at the highest level of our foreign ministry, as seen through the Secretary's Office of Global Women's Issues, that is mandated to promote the rights and empowerment of women and girls. We at the U.S. State Department, the Embassy in New Delhi, and the consulates in Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata, and Hyderabad are committed to working for greater gender equality, not only in higher educational institutions, but in our office spaces as well, reflected through our policies and practices. Externally, our work is all about partnerships and collaborations with like-minded organizations across India.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kennedy, for setting such an inspiring tone for the evening. I am Ananta Gaur, and it's my honor to walk you all through the WISCOMP Saahas Awards 2020. In Maya Angelou's words, courage is the most important of all virtues, because without courage, you cannot practice any other virtue consistently. You can be kind for a while, you can be generous for a while, you can be just for a while, or merciful for a while, or even loving for a while. But it is only with courage that you can be persistently and insistently kind and generous and fair. The Saahas Awards recognize and celebrate the exemplary display of courage by our awardees in their fields of work. Display of Saahas that challenges the status quo, the practice of Saahas that empowers the powerless. It gives me great pleasure to read the citations for our acclaimed awardees for this year. WISCOMP felicitates Sheba K.M. with the Saahas Award in recognition of her outstanding contribution to foster gender justice in higher education. For her consistent advocacy and activism over 25 years to highlight the prevalence of sexual harassment on higher education campuses. For her unflinching support to the survivors of gender-based violence through the Anveshi Women's Counseling Center, Calicut. For her spirited campaigns and editorials in the feminist monthly, Sanghatit, against pervasive structures of patriarchy. For her sterling contribution to shaping both policy and discourse in the academy and in government. For her courageous initiatives through trainings and workshops, overcoming stiff opposition to break the cultures of silence and impunity that sustain regressive mindsets and sexist practices. Congratulations, Dr. Sheba.
Good evening to all. It's a great pride and honor to receive the prestigious WISCOMP Saahas Award for 2020. I'm deeply indebted to Dr. Meenakshi Gopinath, founder director of WISCOMP, for including me as an applicant for the award. I have had the good opportunity to work with her for a while in the preparation of the Samagati report on gender justice on campuses in Kerala and have been truly inspired by her work. I owe my heartfelt gratitude to the honorable members of the jury who considered my name worthy of the award. I take this opportunity to remember my feminist mentors, Dr. Meera Velayudan, Dr. Kalpana Kanagaran, Dr. Anandi S., Dr. Uma Chakravarti, Dr. Nibhat Said Khan of Lahore, Dr. Sharmila Rege, and numerous others who have taught me that feminist activism and feminist academics are inseparable. I'm also remembering Ajita of Anveshi Calicut, whose activism and selfless commitment has shown me that a just society and an equitable society was possible. Talking about gender justice in a university has not been an easy task. I have had my moments of ups and downs, moments when I have wanted to give up altogether. But there have also been moments of success with policies passed, actions taken, and new courses taught on gender. I received this award on behalf of the numerous women who have touched my life and shown me that it was possible to emerge as winners from a situation of victimhood and helplessness through their own struggles. In feminist solidarity and sisterhood, I thank each one of you for being part of this initiative, and I thank WISCOMP for this wonderful opportunity, which is definitely going to motivate me to keep going. Thank you.
WISCOMP felicitates Professor Sanjay with the Saahas Award in recognition of his outstanding contribution to foster gender justice in higher education. For his spirited and sustained campaign over 2 decades against retrograde forms of oppression and prejudice in the most obdurate bastions of patriarchal power and privilege in UP and Madhya Pradesh, India. For his pioneering efforts to create open and transparent systems of redress against gender-based violence on campuses. For bringing the weight of his scholarship and creative communication to engender curricula. For his courageous initiatives at gender sensitization through his initiative, Men's Action for Stopping Violence Against Women, Mass War, Association, to forge linkages across civil society groups and address toxic masculinities. For his commitment to effect change in mindsets, right from the district to the national level, with faith in the transformative power of education to deliver on principles of equality. Congratulations, Professor Sanjay.
I am very grateful to WISCOMP team for selecting me as a man who is working with men to change their mindset for gender equitable gender society. So I hope that if men are awarded to work for gender equality, this will encourage other men also who are working for gender just society, gender equality, and gender justice. So I hope that this award will encourage me to put more energy, put more efforts to work in the field with universities and college youths to change their gender mindset. And I hope that I will have a long-term collaborative work with WISCOMP to make the society gender equitable and gender just and basically a peaceful society. So what I mean by peaceful society is that addressing masculinity, addressing patriarchy is very important. If we want to make our society peaceful, if we want global peace, we will have to address men, their masculinity, and their patriarchal notions of masculinity, their patriarchal norms, the patriarchal attitude, their behavior. So I hope that this award will help me in working on these issues in the field. Thank you.
WISCOMP felicitates Rukmini Sen with the Saahas Award in recognition of her outstanding contribution to foster gender justice in the higher education space. For her creative use of pedagogy to challenge oppressive hegemonic masculinities and ensure democratic inclusivity and dignity for all groups that face violence and discrimination on campuses. For her sustained engagement to bridge theory and practice and empower young people to access their constitutional right to equality. For her imaginative use of a rich array of learning resources and methodologies that equip women to reclaim public space in the academy, the city, and the community. For her striving to restore the imagination of the academy as a space brimming with the potentialities of unfettered discovery, growth, and creative citizenship for all. Truly inspiring, Professor Rukmini. Congratulations.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks to the WISCOMP Collective for doing this award ceremony remotely and getting us all connected. With deep humility, I express my gratitude to everyone involved in the selection process of this award for considering my efforts deserving for Saahas 2020. It is an important moment in the history of higher education for this to have come, when we are engaging with rethinking and co-creating new pedagogies of teaching and learning. For many of us co-travelers, these engagements have been going on for a while. It is because of a culture of critique and creation that has been made possible within higher education, silently but consistently, by individuals or collective and shared initiatives, that I am here today. So I inherit and share the Saahas. Being determined towards new modes of knowing the world was influenced by observing and hearing narratives from my grandmother's famine-ridden, partition-stricken. Stories of Saahas in the banality of the gendered everyday taught me feminism and social justice through the lives of many women in the extended family, as well as by reading women's autobiographies for my research. The rhythms from dance and the travels to the mountains connected me to Angelino's Still I Rise, or Tagore's Where Tireless Striving Stretches Its Arms Towards Perfection. Life has been fortunate to have worked at two teaching institutions which believed in interdisciplinarity, helping me to navigate through the feelings of being at the margins as well as to encounter that important question, where do I really belong? Which discipline is my home? This ambiguity, though troubling, proved valuable on hindsight. Students from across the institutions have been nurtured with my pedagogic experiments, helping me to be reflexive. The resistance and indulgence on my many personal non-narrative conduct by my parents, sister, my friends have enabled in my becoming. Rishti has taught me to be dialogic. Nandan has been a listener. The intimate relationship with the dogs and the plants has made me internalize that Saahas is both courage and resilience, both audaciousness and endurance. As we restart lives, as if after a pause, and strive towards healing, let us try to become passionate, caring, and curious in our transformative practices, both in education and life in general. Thank you, WISCOMP.
WISCOMP felicitates Oishik Sarkar with the Saahas Award in recognition of his outstanding contribution to foster gender justice in higher education, for his innovative experimentation with pedagogical practices as a male feminist teacher navigating the terrain of gender, law, and citizenship, for his persistent efforts to reclaim a place of mutuality within the academy and imbue it with ethics of care, for his striving to shatter the gender hierarchies and glass ceilings between different disciplines in the higher education space, for his ability to deploy the best traditions of feminist practice to transcend the fault lines of class, caste, and gender, for showing by example that it is possible for men to work with a sensibility that foregrounds women's rights as human rights. Congratulations, Professor Oishik.
Hello, everyone. This is an unusually happy moment in these rather despairing times. I'm elated and humbled for being a recipient of the WISCOMP Saahas Award, and I thank the jury and the lovely folks at WISCOMP, especially Dr. Meenakshi Gopinath and Diksha Poddar, for this honor. I congratulate my co-awardees, and I'm excited to be in the company of such an inspiring group of individuals. Although I'm the recipient of this award, in no way can I claim singular credit for its achievement. The collectives and the commons across the many institutions where I have taught over the past 15 years have played an immense role in nurturing, caring, and critiquing me. It's with the support and solidarity of mentors, colleagues, comrades, and students, especially at the Women's Studies Center at the University of Pune and the Jindal Global Law School, that I have been able to experiment and work with feminist ideas in the classroom. Whether in the university or at home, feminism is not a quick-fix solution to patriarchy and heterosexism. Feminism carries its own contradictions, contestations, and limitations that we encounter both in our practices of living and reading. In our shared life together, my feminist partner Debulina Datta has taught me to take seriously the quotidian and the relational, where the contradictions appear in their most complex shades. I acknowledge and try to work through these contradictions inside and outside the classroom, though I must admit, not always successfully. I wonder, what might feminist pedagogy offer in the current climate in India, where a new normalization of gender, caste, class, religious, and environmental violence has emerged? With increasing securitization of campuses, the relative safety of the university is under threat. The feminist classroom, in whatever way we wish to reimagine it now, must be defended and cared for. As teachers, we owe this to students who are continuing the good fight, failing, sustaining, resisting, repairing, and repeating. I draw hope from their fragility and resilience, and I dedicate this award to them. Thank you very much.
I'm very excited to announce the next special award. WISCOMP felicitates Dino K with the Saahas Youth Icon Award for his courageous initiatives to mobilize young people against gender-based violence and discrimination in higher education campuses in Kerala, and applauds his work as the founder of the Disha Network for the democratic rights of young people and to quell misogynist practices that reinforce the marginalization of women, trans persons, and Dalits, and his capacity to lead and demonstrate that vigilance is the price of democracy. Congratulations, Dinu, so richly deserved.
Initially, I would like to thank all my former generation who were the untouchable and belonged to the slave community, who have fought for a dignified life and a justful society. Receiving this award, I can hear the voice of those mothers who are singing the lullabies from the paddy fields, the same ones who have fought, raised the voice against the double jeopardy of both casteism and patriarchy. I would like to extend my thanks to Dr. Meenakshi Gopinath, my dear Meenakshi Amma, who is very close to my heart, and the award team of WISCOMP, and also the jury members. I also thank my mother, who have not grew me up within the gender stereotypes, making me a masculine patriarchal boy. So I thank her and my family members also. I thank the wall team of Disha and the volunteers who are very close to my heart. And once again, I dedicate this award to all those strong youngsters who are fighting against the gender discriminations in the campus. So our battle, as Dr. B.R. Ambedkar said, a battle for not for wealth, but for dignity. Thank you.
A big congratulations to Professor Sheba, Sanjay, Rukmini, Poishik, and Dinu. Thank you for enriching the Hamsa initiative with your unique and creative approaches, pedagogy, and methodologies. We are sure that your work will inspire many others to traverse the paths that you have laid. Now, for the citations for the special commendations and certificates, I invite Diksha Poddar.
Thank you, Ananta. We received some extraordinary stories from across the country. many of which demonstrated exemplary courage and conviction in the face of challenges. Two of these stood out particularly and are selected for special recognition. WISCOMP felicitates Sadhna Mishra with the Certificate of Appreciation for her exemplary efforts to advocate for equal education opportunities for trans persons, and also felicitates Amrita Sarkar with the Certificate of Appreciation for her sustained engagement with trans persons for their access to higher education. Congratulations, Sadhna and Amrita. It is often said, and I quote, "Don't be satisfied with stories, how things have gone with others. Carve your own path. Life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage." Today, WISCOM applauds an individual from a space circumscribed by the fear of gun and violence, Kashmir. He has shown immense determination and courage in his work to consistently overcome many challenges. WISCOM felicitates Javed Ahmed Tak with the Sahas Special Commendation in recognition of his exemplary work on the education of girls and persons with disability. For his courageous actions to secure educational access for girls in the conflict-affected Kashmir Valley. For his pioneering work to develop pedagogical tools and provide technology-enabled learning for the marginalized. For transcending the challenges imposed on him after an armed attack, to continue to foster healing educational spaces that give voice to young people in Kashmir. Congratulations, Javed.
आज मैं काफ़ी खुश हूँ कि मुझे साहस अवार्ड जो विस्कॉम दिल्ली की तरफ से मिला है। मैंने ये पकड़ के एक बहुत इज्जत हासिल की हुई है और आज ये महसूस हो रहा है कि जो काम मैं पिछले 20 साल से कर रहा हूँ, बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग हैं, ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं जो हमारे काम को कहीं दूर से भी देख रहे हैं, महसूस कर रहे हैं। मेरा जो काम था, मैं जम्मू कश्मीर में बच्चों की पढ़ाई के लिए काम करता हूँ। उनको तालीम के अलावा वो सभी चीज़ें प्रोवाइड करता हूँ जिनसे उनकी रिहैबिलिटेशन हो सके। और ये बच्चा आम बच्चा नहीं है, बल्कि वो बच्चियाँ हैं जिनकी डिसेबिलिटी है, चाहे वो डेफ एंड डफ हो, चाहे वो ब्लाइंडनेस हो, चाहे वो ऑर्थोपेडिक डिसेबिलिटीज़ हो, मेंटल डिसेबिलिटीज़ हो। ये सब तरीके की मिक्सड डिसेबिलिटीज़ की बच्चियाँ हैं जिनके लिए आम अहम ये है कि उनके लिए ट्रांसपोर्ट होना चाहिए, उनके लिए ख़ास सिक्योरिटी होनी चाहिए ताकि वो किसी भी परेशानी में मुब्तला ना हो, उनका कोई अब्यूज़ ना हो, कोई वायलेंस उनके साथ ना हो। तो ये काम बहुत ही मुश्किल था जिसको आज विस्कॉम्प ने सराहा है और इसके लिए मुझे इस साहस अवार्ड के लिए चुना गया है। मैं टीम विस्कॉम्प और जरी मेंबर्स को थैंक यू बोलना चाहता हूँ कि उन्होंने मेरी इस काम को बारीक बीनी से देखा। जो अवार्ड आज ये मैंने हासिल किया तो मुझे इससे और ज़्यादा ड्यूटी मिल गई, क्योंकि मुझे ऐसा लगा कि बहुत सारे लोग हैं जो हम पे यकीन करते हैं, जो हमारे काम को इम्पॉर्टेंस दे रहे हैं कि हाँ हमारा काम सही है। तो इसलिए मुझे और भी काम करना पड़ेगा ताकि मैं और आगे भी जहाँ तक मैं मेरी ज़िंदगी होगी, जहाँ तक मैं ये काम कर सकता हूँ, तो वहाँ तक जाने के लिए मुझे और मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी ताकि बहुत सारे बच्चियाँ जो है जिनको आज इस हमारे इनिशिएटिव के बारे में पता चला तो उनको भी इसमें फ़ायदा मिले।
It has been a privilege to work with you, Javed, for the last 18 years. We're delighted that the Government of India has recognized your work with the Padma Shri Award early this year. Many congratulations. I now invite Seema Katrin to announce the Saahas Prerna Awards.
Thank you, Diksha. Friends, we now move to the next category of Saahas Awards. The Saahas Prerna Award recognizes the work of individuals who have provided inspiring leadership
at their institutions and have worked with WISCOMP as partners to finesse the idea of gender audit templates. They brought a wealth of experience and knowledge to initiate change processes that seek to enhance the learning experience of every student on campus, the teaching experience and professional fulfillment for every faculty member, the workspace experience of every staff member, the quality and expanse of community institution engagement. They demonstrate to us what ownership of the idea of gender equality truly means. WISCOMP felicitates Professor Atima Sharma Dwivedi with the Saahas Prerana Award for her exemplary leadership in expanding the canvas of gender equality in higher education, and applauds the array of curricular, co-curricular and community outreach programs initiated and piloted by her at Kanya Mahavidyalaya, Jalandhar, to enable women to fulfill their potential as equal citizens by nurturing a space and discourse that empowers them with voice, agency, autonomy, and the ability to lead. Congratulations, Professor Dwivedi.
Namaskar. Esteemed members of WISCOMP, jury members for Saahas Awards, and distinguished participants in this event. It's an absolute honor for me to be with you all through this virtual medium, the new normal in this post-COVID world of today. I belong to an institution, Kanya Mahavidyalaya, Jalandhar, which pioneered social justice, inclusiveness, and equal opportunities for women in the last quarter of the 19th century in northern India, and continuing its mission with commitment and focus into the present times. We found ourselves thus in total unison, in letter and spirit, with WISCOMP, and I am so very grateful to be associated with this wonderful organization. My work towards this cause spans over almost 40 years, though I must admit that I had started building my strengths to identify discrimination and violence against women at the young age of 10. Sharing the journey on an onward mission with the incredibly committed team of WISCOMP has been most gratifying, heartwarming, and a rewarding experience for me. It acted as a catalyst to bring clarity and new perspectives to us. The Hamsa project is opening new vistas of awareness among the young girls in our institution. I wish to say a big thank you to Dr. Meenakshi Gopinath for bringing us into the fold of WISCOMP. I'm so very grateful for your visit and workshops you, along with your committed team, did for us. I'm extremely humbled to receive this award today from an organization founded by the trust of esteemed His Holiness Dalai Lama. To that effect, I rededicate myself to work for peace, social justice, and inclusiveness of women in this beautiful procession of life and humanity. Thank you ever so much.
WISCOMP felicitates Professor Rakhi Kalita Moral with the Saahas Prerana Award for her outstanding contribution to enhance gender equality in higher education space, and applauds her initiative in forging an impressive network of scholars and practitioners to set up the Women's Study Center at Cotton University, envisioned as a cutting-edge feminist research and praxis hub for the Northeast, and celebrates the curricular and outreach programs spearheaded by her that inspire young students to be gender champions who engage creatively with movements for transformative social change and democratic inclusion. Congratulations, Professor Moral.
For the 2020 WISCOMP Saahas Award that I received, on behalf of the Center for Women's Studies, Cotton University, and on my own behalf, I extend my gratitude to WISCOMP and to its director, Dr. Meenakshi Gopinath, for having considered me worthy of this honor. At the Center for Women's Studies at Cotton University, we have for some time now been striving to create a space in which academics, activists, policymakers, civil society, citizens of the Northeast region have all come together to create an environment in which gender safety and gender justice becomes a priority, creating also, very importantly, an opportunity for the younger generations to be sensitized in this regard. At the Center for Women's Studies, we have been supported very ably by our senior management and by hordes of faculty, both men and women, who increasingly realize the need to bridge these huge gaps that exist amongst our gendered hierarchies and in the traditional patriarchies that are embedded in our society. One important step that the Center for Women's Studies has taken in this regard is to bring together a program for gender studies in the current academic year, a postgraduate program, which I hope will sensitize and create knowledge and intellectual and cultural capital to understand this hugely troubling issue everywhere, including Northeast India. We have also, at the behest of WISCOMP a year ago, conducted a gender audit, which led us to understand that there were indeed in the higher education scenario several spaces which remained unequal and which needed to remove these various discriminations and exclusions. I thank WISCOMP once again for inspiring us and for allowing us to join their wonderful journeys in creating safe spaces and equal opportunities for men and women.
WISCOMP felicitates Professor Lata Nair with the Saahas Award for her outstanding contribution to initiatives for gender equity in higher education, and applauds her pioneering efforts to craft templates of practice for the conduct of gender audits on campuses, appreciates her deep commitment towards building a spirited team of animators at St. Teresa's College, Kochi, celebrates her consistent efforts in psychosocial support for the emotional well-being of students, encountering gender-based violence and substance abuse, and health and financial outreach for the differently abled and LGBTQI communities, and acknowledges with gratitude her generosity of spirit in sharing and disseminating best practices on gender justice with partner institutes to enable the spirit of Hamsa to soar in ever-expanding horizons. Congratulations, Professor Nair.
Thank you so much for conferring upon me this prestigious WISCOMP Saahas Award. I consider this as a recognition for my institution, St. Teresa's College, which gave me an opportunity to meet all of you at WISCOMP. The gender audit project that we undertook has been an eye-opener and a life changer. The first time I stepped through the gates of St. Teresa's, I was an innocent 16-year-old student pursuing literature. It has been an incredible 40 years of working with generations of students, working on collaborations with various organizations and professionals, and I know that I am still learning and growing. Despite being someone who's always striven to help young women find their strength and fulfill their potential, it was only when I started working with Team WISCOMP that I realized that I had yet to recognize the invisible layers of structural inequalities and exclusionary practices that had silently become embedded into our workplaces and our lives. I do not know how to thank Team WISCOMP for initiating us on this transformative path and helping us create a strong awareness of gender perspective among faculty and students. I'm so happy that the young women at St. Teresa's College have been talking about gender equity and transformation and have started looking at life through a gender lens. We will take this gender positive initiative of WISCOMP forward with devotion and commitment. Thank you once again for all the love and faith that you have bestowed upon me.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now move to a very special recognition for someone who best embodies the reflexive and dialogue practices while continuously pushing the envelope on learning and engagement around issues of gender justice. WISCOMP felicitates Professor Krishna Menon with the Saahas Award for her exemplary contribution to gender justice in the academy, for her consistent pedagogical engagement to align theory with the practice of inclusive and creative citizenship, for her laudable efforts to break deeply ingrained myths and prejudices and to demystify feminist theory and praxis, for her exceptional ability to empower students as co-travelers in expanding the landscapes of learning and imbue in them the confidence to shape her story, for her striving to develop a shared lexicon of research and scholarship that best reflects gender knowledge across borders and boundaries. Congratulations, Professor Menon.
Good evening, friends. I'd like to begin by thanking Dr. Meenakshi Gopinath for opening many doors and teaching me to look beyond the obvious. I'm delighted and humbled that WISCOMP has chosen me as the recipient of the WISCOMP Saahas Award for the year 2020. The last 3 decades of my life have been spent in the company of women and some men who have inspired and motivated me with their enthusiasm for and commitment to democratic change. This honor for me is because of them. I believe that my work in institutions of higher education was possible because of the marvelous people I worked with, colleagues, and innumerable students who have shaped me, taught me, and most importantly, cared for me and comforted me. Whatever I have done as a teacher, as an academic, and lately as a senior administrator have been guided by the principles of collaboration, cooperation, and compassion. Feminist practice is such that it can only succeed when it is collaborative. I don't think I chose feminist pedagogical methods consciously, but looking back at interactions inside and outside classrooms with students and colleagues, I realized that it is something that I've been committed to. It is these ideals and principles that are being honored this evening. My parents passed away over the last year. It is to their memory that I dedicate this award. Thank you once again, Dr. Gopinath, and to Team WISCOMP.
I now request Dr. Meenakshi Gopinath to announce a very special award of the evening.
Thank you, Seema. The recipient of the Saahas Shresth Award for the Shiro of Courage this year defies accepted stereotypes. For when has a nun's habit been a marker of feminist engagement? Yet, it is precisely in the remarkable journey of the rebellious little Celine to becoming Sister Vanita that we see how the cloisters of the mind are shattered and how agency is exercised to liberate and empower. Let us take a brief peek into that journey. It nudges us to put our own preconceptions and our own stereotypes to scrutiny and to transgress received metaphors, something that robust feminist practice always encourages us to do.
There was nothing spectacular about me. I was just an ordinary child in an ordinary family. We are a ordinary Christian family. And my father, something characteristic about him is he's a very just man and also a very generous man. And my mother, a very pious, God-oriented, God-fearing lady. I never thought that I should go for higher studies, that I should do something. If anybody asked me, I could only say that I want to be a nun. I used to read a lot of books from our parish library, and that books gave me certain ideas about what is to be a nun. And then certain times, like, my father used to see me reading books. He has got a kind of ideas about every child. There are 8 of us. For me, he wanted me to be a doctor. Everybody mentioned in the family about me is that I was very violently expressing myself sometimes. And also, I had my own will, and I won't give in to people easily. Perhaps I was trying to find a place for myself within this big family structure. After my primary education, I left my home at the age of 15 to become a nun. God in His own way made me a doctor, and I had the opportunity to tell my father, though I did not become a doctor according to your wish, I am now a doctor with a PhD. When I was doing my research, I wanted a topic to begin with. I was reading Doris Lessing those days. I felt I will take her for my study. And the topic that I have taken is Marxism in Doris Lessing. It was a strange topic for a nun. I always think, others allowed me to express myself. I should allow the others also coming to me to express themselves. Like, they should have the freedom to say what they feel. When I became the main warden in the hostel, what I felt is I should do something to understand these students. For me, everybody has got a mind of their own. Sometimes I see somebody sitting there gloomy. I go to them, call them either to my side or make them sit. We stop casually for some time. Whatever is troubling you, just forget about it. You will be all right. So many of the students used to tell me that that word that you said, that everything will be all right, has encouraged me to come out of it. See, when I find students or parents struggling for education of their children, I arrange sponsorship for them. Because of the lack of money, nobody should be denied of education. I think I can spot talents in students. There are a couple of students whom I have directed, changed the course of their future.
I still remember that one day she called me to the office and said, we need to start a spoken English course for the LGBT.
And I felt that is it is a need of the hour. They are trying to express themselves. They are trying to find a niche for themselves in the society. And as an institution that is supporting the education of women and also the empowerment of women, I felt it is the duty bound to allow them to entry into this campus. I felt that being here, there are so many things I can standing here, keeping the foot here, I will be able to mobilize a lot of people to help this. This institution is started by servant of God, Mother Teresa of St. Rose of Lima. She has a very strong sense of the power of women. And she herself was a very empowered woman. Otherwise, it would not have been possible for her to imagine this type of a institution or visualize this type of an institution. What she said is women are to be educated. And that's why in 1887, we started the school here. It is a school for women. And particularly, I feel proud that I am in this institution, this congregation, where women are given opportunity to develop their full potential. Personally speaking, I find that the garb that I am wearing, the vows that I have taken, liberates me. Habit gives me a kind of confidence to reach out to the people. And also they feel quite confident to confide in me. That is a freedom I feel internally. One particular person came and said, "We feel you are not like the traditionally confined nun." Then I said, "What is the traditionally confined nun?" This habit is not a kind of hurdle for me. Keeping all the rules of my institution, my vows, I can be an inspiration. I can be a corrective force. And that's what I'm doing in this campus. The spirit of freedom and empowerment is not given here in the curriculum. It is in the air. Every student who comes in here imbibes that air and they experience an inner freedom, which is the spirit of calm. When I look at my life, I find it's a kind of a long journey from a girl from a remote village and then passing through these long years of life. I have reached in this state, whatever you call it, and coming from a patriarchal society, living through a patriarchal society, living much more a stricter life in the religious life, abiding within the structures of the institution with its discipline, with its vows, with the dress, with the thinking pattern, everything I have reached now here. When I think back, perhaps what has helped me is an open reading and also a freedom to express whatever thinking that was going on in my mind. The restrictions can be transformed into liberating. Unless you want to be restricted, nobody can restrict you. Where people find hurdles, restrictions, I find freedom. Nothing can in this world become a hurdle for you to be liberated.
So now you know why I feel so deeply honored to read the citation for Sister Vinita. WISCOMP takes immense pride in conferring the Saahas Award on Sister Vinita for her outstanding contribution to the education of women, for her extraordinary leadership in nurturing St. Teresa's College as a space that harmonizes excellence with access, equity, and inclusion, for her tireless service to restore voice and dignity to marginalized and stigmatized groups in the larger community, for exhorting generations of students to free themselves from the shackles of protectionism and patriarchy, to claim agency and acquire professional capacity, for imbuing the discourse in the higher education space with the ethics of care, for inspiring young women to assume the mantle of leadership with confidence, empathy, and compassion, and to move beyond the precincts of privilege, for fostering a sensibility that responds as much to the pain on our planet as to the beauty of a bud unfolding, and for being, with humility and forbearance, the unconventional feminist in a habit, the true shero of courage.
I would like to think that my calling has been to create opportunities for young women and to help nurture them to fulfill their potential. Every young woman who walks into St. Teresa's finds a space that ignites their mind and inspires their potential. When it comes to topics like gender, equity, or leadership, I don't know a lot about theory or philosophy. For me, it has always been about creating opportunities for everyone, irrespective of where they come from, their gender, caste, or creed. When I look at St. Teresa's and the multitudes of young women who have passed through this campus, I am content in the realization that I have given people a space to grow and mature into the best versions of themselves. My heartfelt thanks and gratitude to Dr. Meenakshi Gopinath, the director of WISCOMP, and her team for considering me for this prestigious Saahas Shrestha Award 2020 and the love they hold in their hearts for me and my institution.
Our heartiest congratulations, Mr. Vinita. We are privileged to have worked with you. May I now request Mandeep Kaur, who has truly been the wind beneath our wings, to say a few words.
Meenakshi, Rajiv, Seema, Diksha, David, and all the awardees. Today evening has been nothing short of inspirational. So many achievements, so much passion, so much energy, and so much commitment. Today I'm reminded of the words of Maya Angelou, who emphasized how important it is for us to recognize and celebrate our heroes and sheroes. For us, you awardees are our heroes, emphasizing and reminding us that positive change is possible, empowering individuals and communities. Meenakshi, Seema, and Diksha, as we at the Embassy collaborated with WISCOMP on the Gender Equity in Higher Education project, we found in you a partner that is highly professional and for whom integrity and transparency and gender empowerment is above all. Over the past 2 years, we have laughed together, learned together, and we look forward to a future where we'll find innovative ways of working together on the important issue of gender equality. Thank you, everyone, and have a great evening.
Thank you, Mandeep. Thank you for everything. I now invite Rajiv Mehrotra, Trustee and Secretary of the Foundation for Universal Responsibility, for a vote of thanks and to bring this beautiful evening to a close.
Thank you for an inspiring evening. The Foundation for Universal Responsibility of His Holiness the Dalai Lama celebrates its WISCOMP initiative and all those who have made the Saahas Awards and this evening possible. Most of all the awardees who embody the aspirations of our work. Recently, His Holiness the Dalai Lama said, I urge young women to accept leadership roles. And he went on to add, if women govern all the 200 nations of the world, there will be less war, less violence, less economic and social injustice, because their strength is rooted in love and compassion. Today, our awardees include men, women, and trans persons who imbue their work with these qualities. We are grateful for the support of the Public Affairs section of the U.S. Embassy in Delhi, especially David Kennedy, Minister Counselor Public Affairs, and Mandeep Kaur. Craig Dicker provided early impetus to this engagement, Conrad Turner sustained support, and Rajinder Chopra kept the funds flowing seamlessly. Thank you. WISCOMP's work draws upon the learning from partnerships with those who share our passions and our agendas. Thank you, St. Teresa's College, Kochi, Cotton University, Guwahati, Kanya Mahavidyalaya, Jalandhar, Symbiosis School for Liberal Arts in Pune, the Kalinga Institute of Social Sciences in Bhubaneswar for hosting WISCOMP, and members of higher education institutes in your vicinity. The Saahas Awards jury, Ravi Gulati, Abha Adams, Anjali Bharadwaj, and Krishna Menon, helped us with the difficult task of choosing from amongst so many worthy individuals. Our gratitude to the awardees and to the hundreds of other individuals like them who inspire us by who they are and what they do. As the Hamsa program unfolded, WISCOMP drew upon invaluable inputs from Dr. Christy E. Kelly, Dr. Meena Chawla Singh, and Professor Kathleen Modorovsky. Safety Pin, especially Kalpana Vishwanath, helped our partner institutions to conduct the much appreciated safety audits on their campuses and in their cities. Our sincere thanks to Nitya Kalyani Ramakrishnan for piloting the monitoring and evaluation of the work. To Ananta Gaur, our young conductor of ceremony this evening, the staff of the India International Centre, especially the head of the program division Tete, and the Syncline team led by Jaj and Nishant for managing this virtual event. None of this would have been possible without the vision, passion and hard work of the inimitable WISCOMP team of Meenakshi Gopinath, Seema Kakran and Diksha Poddar and Shilpi. And to all of you watching from around the world, thank you, thank you, thank you.